What's going on, guys? Mackenzie Long here. So, what I hate about life insurance, now that I've been in the industry for 9 years of teaching people how money works, which includes all different aspects of cash flow, understanding an emergency fund, debt management, proper protection, asset accumulation, and wealth preservation, some things that I hate most about it will probably surprise you. And although I've been in the industry for 9 years, this is something that's really kind of bothered me even more and more lately. And I don't know what it is. I think it's because I really think the industry can do better. And I'm really only bringing it up because I think the industry can improve, and I think that it's something that we can get better at as a whole. Because where things are at, I really just don't understand how we've gotten to this point. And part of this for me is really extending an olive branch so that we can get better. I don't know if it's possible. I think that it is. I think anything's possible if we put enough energy into it. But I wonder if people are too invested in the status quo to actually put the time and energy into doing something different, because it's always hard to do something different than the way that you've been doing it. And I don't know if people will really invest the energy to do that, but my hope is, my whole idea of making this video is that we can improve on it. And let me first put out my disclaimer, because I love this industry. I think that for the consumer, there's nothing better that you can do for a family to make sure that their financial life is taken care of. What I mean by that is that when they have proper protection in place, I've been at funerals of friends and family and clients of people who have had protection and people who have not, and it's a night and day difference. Because there's one thing that I know for sure, and it's that all the stuff that you have really means nothing when you're gone. That family doesn't care about the super expensive car and the big house and the pool and all of the cool stuff that you put in there when you're gone, and they're not able to maintain it. It's all being taken away. It doesn't matter to them at that point. It doesn't matter when they have to figure out a whole different lifestyle because that stuff wasn't taken care of. When they can't take the time to grieve and do the things that they need to do, it's just a big difference. And I think that makes a big impact on people. Or when they live too long, they live a long life, and you've helped them put money away and help them to understand discipline and staying consistent with it, that when they do actually stop working one day, that they can retire with some dignity. I've got clients coming up now that are ready to retire, and we protected the majority of their assets through all of this craziness, and they're going to be able to retire when they want to and not have to work another 10 years, because that's what their previous advisor told them to do if they lose all their money in the stock market. So having helped them save and protect those assets and coming to a point where they can actually stop working when they want to, there's just something special in helping to navigate somebody through those tough waters and be able to arrive on the other side safely. Or I've had plenty of clients over the last couple of years who maybe live a long life, but they get sick, and it's crazy. Most people will have huge challenges with sickness in their life. I think it's something like 2/3. Or if they just happen to get sick, it was something that happened over the last couple of years. It's been all over the place, and we've seen that this is a possibility now. But how does your life continue to move forward? How does everything move forward when we might have interruptions in what we can do? And being able to have things in place for that, I think, makes a huge difference for people. Setting up stuff that kids will go to college, they will never know my name. They won't know that I helped set those things up and help their families walk through those things, and they'll never know who I am, but it's rewarding knowing that kids will go to school because of that, and they'll be able to start their life off ahead versus having to start behind like most kids. I don't think there's really much else that you could teach people about in life that makes that kind of a difference, or the product that you could sell them that's going to change their life the way that financial products do. I just don't think anything else makes that kind of a difference. But there are a few things that I hate specifically about life insurance. So needless to say, I absolutely love the industry. And if you do too, make sure you smash that like button, because I think it's one of the best industries to be in. But there are a few things that I hate about life insurance. And surprisingly, it has nothing to do with the products. Some of them last longer, some of them don't last as long, some of them are more expensive, some of them are cheaper. And they come in all different varieties, and I think that's important for any product. Imagine if we only sold sports cars or we only sold trucks. We need to have a plethora of all of these types of things because people are different, their situations are different. So that really leads me into number one thing that I hate, and I changed the way that I worded this because I wanted it to be positive. And instead of saying I hated something, I reworded it to be positive, and that I think we should be focused more on serving the client than being right. And what I mean by that is companies oftentimes have a one-size-fits-all approach. meaning that they know what you need before they know who you are and what you actually need. And so they try to fit everybody into a cookie cutter design, and that simply doesn't work. It'd be the same thing as offering everybody a sedan. We get rid of all the sports cars, we get rid of all the SUVs, and then we just make sure everybody fits into a sedan. And the problem with that is not everybody's going to fit into that same design. But what's worse than that, what's more deceptive than that, is that they don't educate in the right way. Instead of educating on all of what's available, they just indoctrinate. Since they only have a one-track mind, they're not going to teach you about all the other things. They're going to teach you about their way. And so they're making assumptions about you before you even get a chance to decide for yourself. And this happens a lot of times, whether it's buy term and invest the difference, and they know that that's the only way to do it. You should never do a permanent policy. And I'm not giving them any more flack than the opposite side of that, of everybody needs a permanent policy, and that might not be accurate either. And what ends up happening on both of those is that the customer, the consumer, is not properly educated because they're told that there's only one way to do it. And what continually happens there is both sides of those, they're not educating themselves on the opposite side. They don't really look at that opposite side and go, oh, well, in these particular areas that could be good, oftentimes because they can't offer those products and services. And they just have this one-track mind, this cookie cutter idea for everybody. And when you stop educating, you stop learning about different ways of doing things, then unfortunately, if all you have is a hammer, then you feel like everything needs to be hammered. And the people who get hurt by that are the consumers, because they might need something else. And I think people are smart enough that if you educate them, now it doesn't have to be to the level that they're going to become a financial professional. They don't need to know everything about everything, but giving it to them in a simple enough verbiage that they can get the general ideas and the basic concepts, I think people can make a pretty good decision for their own life and what they want to do. I think that if we laid it out for them, they would know whether buy term and invest the difference or a permanent policy or some combination of the two might be the best route to go. And having been doing this for the last 9 years, my persistency has been really good into the low to the mid 90s, which means that the vast majority of our clients stay on the books and stay on the books for a long time. Now, things happen. People lose their jobs. They have challenges with finances. They move. They have all kinds of issues. So some of them fall off, but the vast majority of them, 92 to 95%, end up keeping their policies long term. And why is that? It's because we go from an education standpoint and we allow them to take part in actually making the decisions for their financial life. Because if they're a part of it and they understand what they're doing, they're going to take on a bigger role for it versus just saying, here's what you should do. Then they go on the computer and they research other things. They go, well, how come my person never taught me about all these things? And instead of being solidified on what you showed them, they're more confused because they hear all these other things that they were never taught about. Versus if you educate them on them, and then show them some different ideas and different ways to do it, they take more ownership in it. And I think when they take more ownership in it, they're more likely to succeed. And don't make clients of people who don't want to. If they don't want to protect their family, they don't want to save money, that's perfectly fine. Let them walk out the door. It doesn't make sense to try to convince somebody to do something. I don't think we should be in the convincing business. We should just be looking for the people that want to do it. And I think most people want to take care of their family. They want to do better financially. They want to save more money. They just don't really know how, and they don't know, they're not educated on it, and they're tired of being taken advantage of. They're tired of not getting ahead financially, and they want to make that difference. Now, some people don't. They like the situation they're in. No matter what you do for them, and no matter what they say about the situation they're in, they actually like it. And so no matter what you do, they're going to stay in that situation. But anyway, on to number two. The number two thing is that we should really be talking good instead of talking bad. And unfortunately, that doesn't seem to happen in this industry. And I've been in other industries and I've never noticed it to be this much. And so maybe it was just that I wasn't really paying attention. Maybe I'm just more sensitive that I've been doing this longer. I don't know. But there seems to be a big thing where, especially on YouTube, you can search any major company and literally the first 15 videos you're going to see behind it is company name scam. And I think that does a ton of damage to the industry. And people feel like they're doing a good thing. It's easy to get a bunch of views doing that. Anybody can post up videos of that and you're gonna have a million because people are searching for those things and they wanna know if something's a scam and they're going to go in there and gonna click on it. So you're gonna get a ton of views doing it. The challenge is it doesn't help anybody because if everybody's pointing the finger at all the other companies saying that they're a scam, then the problem with that is everybody looks like a scam. And then what the people that get hurt by that the most are the consumers because they don't know who to turn to. They're more afraid of making a mistake and being scammed than they are of doing nothing and not moving their life forward. So because they get overwhelmed with indecision, they get overwhelmed with not wanting to make the wrong decision, they don't end up doing anything. So we're actually hurting the customers by that because all they see is everybody's a scam. So if everybody's a scam, I'm just not going to do anything because I'd rather keep my money than be scammed. Does that make sense? And then the people who I think are even worse than that are the ones that call everybody else a scam so that they can recruit their people. And I don't mean their people, like there's no ownership in that, right? Everybody's usually an independent contractor, but there's something virtuous they feel about going, oh, well, that company's a scam because they recruit lots of people and this stuff happens. So instead of being with them, you should come over to my company and recruit to me instead. And to me, that's like the lowest form that you can possibly be because you don't know how to go out and actually prospect people, that you have to take people who are maybe having an issue or trying to figure some of these things out. Because it seems to be, for me, I sucked for like 2 years. I sucked really, like something fierce. I sucked. Now I'm still able to make some money. Maybe I had some friends who were just generous, I don't know, and felt bad for me. I don't know. They still have their policies today, so they didn't feel that bad. They didn't like just guilt by it. But there's like 2 to 5 years maybe where people suck. And unfortunately, these companies, it's like sharks with blood in the water, right? They know people are hurting. They know they're trying to figure out the industry. And everybody wants to give the magic pill other than hard work, consistency, persistency, and getting better and developing yourself. And so if you move to this company, they will help you more, you'll get more of the stuff you need, and you'll do better. And obviously for most people, it's not the case. It's just that you need to get better. And like I said, I sucked for a long time. And I remember people trying to prospect me, and it just confused me even more because I didn't really understand what the differences were. They were telling me this company was better and that company was better and everybody's different ways of doing things was better. And they didn't really know about this particular company or other companies. And so it was strange to me that everybody thinks that they have the magic bullet, yet everybody has the same exact challenges. So that hurts agents. It keeps us from growing at the pace that we should, all of our agencies. It also hurts the consumer. I think it's terrible in that aspect because if there's less people to help, then obviously there's less people getting served. And obviously if everybody thinks that every company's a scam, then obviously they're not going to do business with anybody and their life doesn't get any better. And number 3, I think we all need to come together and work as a whole. Now, I understand these companies will never become one and they shouldn't, right? Each company has things that they're great at and things that they're not as good at. For instance, if you want to be a personal producer, there are companies that are better with that. If you want to do more final expense, you can find companies that are better at final expense. If you want to do specifically permanent policies or you want a variety of things, you can find companies that do all those things. If you want to build an agency, there's companies that do that. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't have lots and lots of companies. It's just like cars, right? Like how many different car brands? And I think this is funny because every day Marlene and I are talking about the different car brands. She's from Cuba, so they don't have that much variety there. And so we're driving, she's like, oh, that's a Mercedes, that's a Acura, that's a Ford, that's a GMC. I don't remember that one. Oh, that's a Cadillac. Oh, there's a Buick. Oh, there's Mitsubishi, right? The reason why we need all of these different cars is because there's different types of people. Now, they all function very similar, but they're also very different in the things that people might want. Some of them are more expensive, some of them are less expensive, some of them move more people, some of them move less people faster. It just depends on what it is that somebody's looking for, that if we could just talk about our strengths, we would find the people that were better suited for our particular company than maybe they were for another one. And I understand most agents coming in don't know what they're getting into. They don't understand the difference between a brokerage agency. They don't know the difference between a personal producer agency. But this is something that you find out by maturing. And I think if we matured ourselves and instead of trying to bicker amongst each other, if we would just talk about the things that we were good at, we would find the right people. And the reason why I say this is because if you look at any of the statistics around money, you'll see that there's a huge need for what we do. Look up debt. Look how many people are struggling with debt. Tons of people. How many people are struggling with saving money? Tons of them. Just look up how many people could overcome a $400 expense if something came up. How many people need help with long-term care? They say of married couples, 2/3 of people will need some form of long-term care. That's almost 70% of the population will need some form of long-term care. Look at the bankruptcies and the way that they're caused mostly by health issues. Read statistics about retirement and how many people are on track for retirement. Very few of them are. Very few people will have enough assets to be able to stop working. Pensions are pretty much gone. Social Security's failing. All of these issues, personal savings isn't big enough. and yet we're bickering amongst each other instead of actually going out and serving people. According to this CNBC article in 2019, it says that less than 1% of people actually have a financial professional that's helping them. It means 99% of the population isn't being touched. So with everybody we have right now, if we keep recruiting the way that we're recruiting, it would take us 3 or 4 generations to even get caught up, to even be close to helping all the people that are here now, not including any growth from there. So I think if we really focused our energy on making a difference for the consumer and focusing on the areas that we're good at and passing off those things that we're not good at, I think the industry could do a lot better for the consumer. I think the consumers would be way happier and they would get way further ahead. I just wonder if people can set aside their egos to actually do that, or if people will keep doing stuff the way that they've been doing it. And I've never recruited from another company. I've never poached people. I've never gone after other people's people. I never go after people's clients. I will educate them, and if they want to make a different decision that they previously made because they weren't educated, that's a different story. But I think it's crazy that people are literally focused on trying to recruit other agents and change other people's policies instead of just doing what's best for the consumer. They would rather put somebody into a worse situation and be right than just do what was best for the consumer. So I don't know, maybe it's too pie in the sky, maybe it'll never happen. But I hope that in my time here, I can make a difference for the industry and that we can pull some of this stuff together. Who knows if it'll actually happen, but that's a big part of our goal. And if you're with me and you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button. And we've got some great stuff coming up. So if you love the content here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well. We've got some really cool things coming. I just did a 1-week dopamine detox. So it's something that I highly recommend if you feel like you're on your phone a lot, if you feel like it's hard to do tough things, if you know you need to be doing things, but you'd rather sit scrolling on your phone, I highly recommend you watch that. I did a whole week of it. It's something I'm still continuing. I'll do updates on. I'm also giving away over $50,000 in financial literacy, and that's not a YouTube thing. It's not a raffle type thing. It's something that we're going to be giving away. I'm actually going to talk about that here shortly. And I'm also working on some podcast style stuff with talking about wealth and money and biblical principles. So keep your eye out for some of that as well. So don't forget to hit the bell so that way when this stuff is coming out, you will be notified about it. And as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.